in many cases, likability and social media are great equalizers for small businesses. You have a massive, massive opportunity to differentiate yourself from your larger competitors by being likable, by focusing on customer service, by focusing on employees, by taking care of both of those groups, by being transparent, authentic, vulnerable, responsive, grateful. You have an opportunity to be better than your big, bad, evil, giant corporate competitors and really care about your customers and employees in a way that they struggle with doing. And that does matter.
The following is brought to you by Thryv, the end-to-end client experience platform that helps you get the job, manage the job, and get credit.
Hey, this is Gordon Henry at Winning on Main Street. And this week you get to meet Dave Kerpen. Dave is a serial entrepreneur, New York Times bestselling author of 4 books, and founder and CEO of Apprentice, which helps small businesses find great talent. He's also the founder and chairman of Likeable Media and Likeable Local. Welcome, Dave.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Really excited for this because so many people struggle with the whole issue of how do we meet people and become more likable, and the whole subject just seems intimidating. So you're an expert. Let's start with your background. What did you do to become known as the face of Likeable or the Likeable brand?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was very fortunate. Our initial company was actually called the K-Buzz some years ago. And I had a woman that called me once. I ran for New York City office and I ended up dropping out of the race. The 72-year-old incumbent called me up and said, I just want to thank you for dropping out of the race. And I hope I get to hear you one day. And I said, what do you mean, hear me? And she said, don't you work for that radio station, the K-Buzz? And at that moment, I knew that we had a horrible name for our business. So Facebook was about to launch the like button. And so one of my employees suggested the word likable, and we went with it, and the rest is history. We ended up owning a word, which was super, super valuable. And I just dug in and continued to build lots of SEO juice and content around the word. I've written 3 books with the word in it. So it's a good word to be associated with. If you're going to have a word associated with you, likable is a lot better than a lot of other words.
Yeah, for sure. And tell me about the wedding story. There was this wedding story where you had a sponsored wedding that started your company.
Right. So before that, so my wife and I both have a marketing and sales background. We both had some great brand relationships. And when we decided to get engaged, my wife had this brilliant idea. She had been married before and had paid $100,000 for a wedding that, led to a divorce in 2.5 years. But I wanted a very big wedding. So we had this idea to get married at a baseball stadium, and we pitched the Brooklyn Cyclones, a minor league affiliate of the Mets, to get married at the stadium, to take over the sponsorship inventory from the game in exchange for generating PR for the team and the stadium. And so the general manager said, "This is the craziest idea I've ever heard. I kind of think you guys could pull it off." And so we did. We had a wedding. The theme was Our Field of Dreams. And 1-800-Flowers.com sponsored our flowers, and Smirnoff sponsored our alcohol, and Entenmann sponsored our desserts, and David's Bridal sponsored our bridesmaids gowns, and so on and so forth. And it was amazing. I got married in front of 7,000 fans and 500 friends and family. And it turned out to be an amazing wedding for me as a huge baseball fan, but also a really perfect marketing promotion. We generated about $20 million worth of earned media for our partners, for our sponsors. And yeah, our sponsors literally said, this was amazing. What are you guys going to do next? And we couldn't get married again. So that was actually the beginning of our first company.
Right. I love it. So before we get to the Apprentice and what you're doing now, I want to stick for a second with this whole idea of likability and how it relates to small businesses. Most of our listeners, most of our customers for our Thryv CRM product are small businesses, and these are everyday businesses: roofers, plumbers, home remodelers, heating and air conditioning, auto repair, doctors, dentists. How does likability, or the idea of likable media, relate to small businesses? Why does it matter for them?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it's what I love is that in many cases, likability and social media are great equalizers for small businesses. Big businesses really struggle with being likable. I mean, honestly, the bigger a business is, the harder it is to be as likable, as customer centric, as employee centric as an ideal business would be. And so, if you're a small business owner that's listening or watching this, you have a massive, massive opportunity to differentiate yourself from your larger competitors by being likable, by focusing on customer service, by focusing on employees, by taking care of both of those groups, by being transparent, authentic, vulnerable, responsive, grateful. These are 5 of the 11 principles of likability that I talk about and I write about. You have an opportunity to be better than your big, bad, evil, giant corporate competitors and really care about your customers and employees in a way that they struggle with doing. And that does matter. And that does make a difference. And we as consumers, I mean, most of the people listening are small business owners, but I guarantee you this, Gordon, everyone listening and watching is a consumer and it is a customer. And what customers like and respond to is likability, is kindness, is authenticity, is all of the traits that I just said. So if you have a choice as a small business owner between focusing on being more likable or adding 0.1% to your EBITDA, I'm going to say you have a chance to differentiate. The corporate has to respond to their shareholders, and they have to focus on that 0.1% of EBITDA, but you don't. You as a small business owner can focus on being a little bit more likable, even if your margins aren't quite as high. And in the long run, that's going to be a huge, huge competitive advantage.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it seems that your message is local businesses need to become likable, develop people skills, especially using social media. And to me, the sort of $64,000 question is, how does an average small business person who's so busy, barely has any time in their day, usually, just juggling and running from one, how do they find time and capability to manage social media in the right way?
Yeah, well, this is where we get into delegation. And so the biggest difference between a small business owner and an entrepreneur is the mindset and ability to delegate. And I've talked to literally at this point, probably thousands of small business owners through the years. And many, many, many of them struggle with this. And they say, well, I can't, I need to do this work. I need to do the work. I call BS. Because I've seen in every single category, from dentists to doctors, to lawyers, to plumbers, every single category I have seen those that are able to say, you know what, I can do this. I can delegate. I can focus on working on the business and delegate everything else. So 3 things any great CEO does: set the strategy and vision of the company. That's where we get into social media as well, how we can use social for all these great things. That's at the strategy and vision level. Put the right people in the right seats. That's at the hiring level. Hire the right people, the right leaders that are going to do the hiring, and make sure there's enough money in the bank to make payroll. That's it. If you do those 3 things and you delegate the rest, you're going to be able to work on the business and not in the business. You're going to have the time to do the fun stuff of the strategy and the vision. And you're not going to be so stuck in the I got to post again on Instagram. It's not about what you post every day on Instagram. It's about building the strategy and having the team that's going to delegate, that's going to do the work according to the strategy and vision that you delegate.
Okay, so let's get a little more granular on this sort of social media strategy. So you as a small business owner, maybe you say, here's kind of the way I want to come across on social media. Here's my personality. Here's what I want to talk about. And I guess you're saying with delegating that you perhaps hire somebody. It could be an agency. It could be you use a tool yourself and have somebody do it, for you inside the company. But you find a way to post or tweet or write about the things that make you different on a regular basis. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and the only thing I think that I didn't hear from you that I would add is absolutely pivotal is the goals and business. I mean, a lot of people, or a lot of small business owners that are watching or listening, are probably still in the mode of, I think I kind of need to do social media because everyone says I need to, but I don't really see the point, and I don't really know how to actually make money from it. If you don't know how to make money from it, then no, it's not worth doing it. So the very first step is to decide, what are your goals of social media? Are you driving leads? Are you building brands awareness? Are you getting share of voice? Are you generating more dollars? Are you extending customer lifetime value with your relationship with your current customers? Think of real business goals and make sure you attach real business goals to your overall strategy and plan. Otherwise, what's the point? So yes, have those goals, and to your point, yes, have the ideas around what the brand voice looks like, what the responsiveness looks like, what social networks matter to you, because where are your customers and prospects? And you do all of that work up front, and then the rest, the posting every day, the paid media aspect, the content, all these things that seem like that's the important stuff. That's actually the less important stuff. That stuff can be delegated to an agency, to in-house employee, to an apprentice, or somebody that you bring in from the outside. Right. That's the work that absolutely is the tactical stuff that can be delegated, but it's the big vision stuff, the strategy stuff that really should be what you figure out on your own.
Okay, super. And just to remind folks who may be listening or watching, Dave, you've written, I guess, 4 books now. Several of them tackle exactly these issues, so people can look you up online, find what you've written about these topics, and learn, and then figure out what's the best way to implement. Now, you also wrote or launched a company called Likeable Local, and that was geared to helping agencies manage the social media for local businesses, right?
Yeah. So first of all, Likeable Social Media is that first book on social. We're in our 3rd edition. I'm writing the 4th edition now, and it's a really, frankly, I think a great primer on social and on the really high level strategy stuff that doesn't change even as the tactics change. I mean, the 4th edition will have TikTok be a much bigger, play a much bigger role, whereas the 3rd edition, a year ago, 2 years ago, didn't have TikTok. But again, the strategies and overall idea behind social doesn't change. Yeah, we built Likeable Local with the theory that social media really democratizes opportunity, and we can help agencies, help small businesses manage their social using the tools that we developed.
Yeah, great. So moving on now, your latest sort of gig is The Apprentice, right? Not the Donald Trump show, but a business that you run, and you help small business people find talent, right? Find the right people to help them.
Yeah, so it's quite an incredible story, Gordon. I've been fortunate enough to have college students working for me for the last 13 years, and first 2 businesses that I built in Likeable Media and Likeable Local. And so what I would do is I would hire these college students. They'd work for me while they're in school. Then they'd come to work for me full time after they graduate, and I've already molded them. It was a perfect scenario. So I had this student that was working for me for 2 years while he was in Hamilton, and Rob came to me. He said, "Dave, I feel like I've learned more from you than I learned from college, and I know I've done really important work." He actually co-authored my the 3rd edition of Likeable Social Media. He worked with me on a $1 million consulting project, and he said, "I feel like there's a business model here." And I said, "Yeah, you're right." And so Rob, within a few weeks, became my co-CEO and co-founder at the age of 21 of my latest venture, which is called Apprentice. And it's a managed marketplace that connects small business owners and entrepreneurs with the best and brightest college talent. So if you want to hire a Harvard business graduate, you'd have to pay them $100,000 starting salary. What small business owner can afford to pay a Harvard business graduate $100,000? But if you hire them a year before they graduate, that same exact person, that same exact talent, you can hire for 1/5 of the cost. And so what I'm so excited about, in the same way that I worked on democratizing social media for small businesses, now I'm focused on democratizing talent and bringing really, really great talent that frankly most small business owners wouldn't have access to those same small businesses just a little bit before they graduate.
Okay, and it's all focused on college students, is that right?
That's right. It's all college students. So we have a very, very difficult application process. We only take 5% of all college students that apply. So we already have the best and the brightest applying. We take the top 5%. We have writing samples. We put them through the ringer interviews, and then we bring like really, really high level talent to our small business and entrepreneur.
And is there a particular skill set that you find is in demand or that you supply?
Yeah, I mean, digital marketing is probably the number one, but we have four areas: digital marketing, business development, data and analytics, and operations are really the four areas that we see people bringing on apprentices for. But probably the number one thing is digital marketing and social media, as we're talking about. We just worked on our core values, and I was so proud and excited. Our core values of the company are grit, being gritty, being enterprising, and mentorship. And my favorite aspect of mentorship, Gordon, is we believe that everyone is both a student and a teacher. So of course, our clients, our small business owners and entrepreneurs are teaching our apprentices. But the interesting thing, as it turns out, is that our apprentices end up mentoring our small business owner and entrepreneur clients on things like TikTok. I mean, heck, I wrote the best New York Times bestselling book on social media, and I don't freaking understand TikTok. My kids had to teach me TikTok. So it's this idea that we all have something to teach and we all have something to learn. And that's really, really resonating with folks. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, that's great. So one of the topics you tackled in one of your books, maybe in a couple of the books actually, was this whole area of, I guess you'd call people skills. I know you wrote a book called The Art of People, 11 Simple People Skills that will get you everything. And back to your original point that small businesses, the advantage it would seem they have is their ability to connect on a sort of face-to-face local level. I'm a guy who works in your local town. I'm not the big company. And yet, I think we all would say from experience that many small businesses sort of fall short on this customer experience simply because maybe they feel they don't have the time or they don't know how to juggle their schedules. And so what should be an advantage sometimes isn't because they don't they don't go back to people when people call them. They don't answer their voicemail. They're not regularly on email. All the typical ways that people want to communicate, they're not as responsive, certainly not as responsive as the big companies like a Domino's or an Amazon where everything is automated, right?
That's right. And it's tragic because, there are some, of course, that do a phenomenal job of this. I think about, I think we all have that experience of that local restaurant or that local cafe where we walk in, and everyone knows your name and, like Cheers, the bar, but, we walk in, everyone knows your name and they treat you really, really well. And yet there's so many small business owners. I mean, I think about healthcare and going to the doctor's office and the dentist and just like waiting in this endless black hole of waiting rooms and filling out paperwork that I filled out 100 times before. I mean, we have to focus. If you're a small business owner watching or listening, we have to focus on doing the little things to connect with people that are memorable. And yes, it's these people skills that we have to put first. Even when we think that we don't have time, we have to make time for what matters, because in the long run, people skills matter. I just got off the phone right before this with somebody who's leaving a company that I serve on the board of. And the thing is, he made a great impression on me. So it didn't matter. Yeah, it sucks that he's leaving, of course. But you know what? What I said to him, what I say to all of my employees and partners, et cetera, if and when, we part ways, is the world is smaller than ever before and life is longer than ever before. The internet, as well as extended lives and extended working lives, have made these statements true. So all the more reason to treat people well. I mean, if you own a small business, bad news. Chances are that you will not own that same small business 40, 50 years from now. But I'll tell you what, 100% certainty that you will still own your name and be the exact same person that you are 40, 50 years from now. So given the choice for how to treat people, let's always choose to treat people well, to be kind, to be responsive, to be respectful, to be transparent, to be vulnerable, to be grateful. These things matter and these things are absolutely remembered. And much to your point again before, these things differentiate us from some of those big bad companies that neglect them. So let's take advantage of these opportunities.
Right. So I want to ask you about technology and how technology plays a role in here. Our parent company, which is called Thryv, THRYV, builds basically a CRM for small businesses, and it helps them modernize and automate their communications with their customers. So they have more of an automated calendar and reminder and texts and emails and estimates and invoices and payments. So it all is easier for the customer to see and receive on their smartphone, particularly because people basically live on their smartphone. And so even though the word like automation and modernization doesn't sound friendly or likable, in reality, it kind of is, because that's how people want to communicate with you. You have to sort of do business the way people want to do business. Wouldn't you agree?
I would totally agree. And the best part is it allows us to communicate at greater scale. So, I'll give you an example. We just built a CRM for Apprentice, and so now we have weekly check-ins with our clients, but it's all automated. So I can have account managers click one button and send out emails to all of our clients, and they all are personalized and in a way that just saves us a lot of time, so we can focus on the more important stuff. In fact, my next book is on delegation, and you have convinced me in this conversation, Gordon. So thank you. I'll give you credit in the acknowledgments to really include delegation and automation, because part of delegation, we delegate to people, but we also can delegate to tools. We can delegate to tools that help automate the systems and processes that we want to do. And by all means, why would we turn away from that opportunity? That's the same great opportunity to take advantage of that, again, these big businesses have. So if you're a small business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, why in the world would you turn away from an opportunity to delegate to tools and systems some of the hard work of personalization at scale? I mean, to me, it's like a huge win. So yes, I love the work that Thryv is doing, and it seems to me that delegation and automation absolutely go hand in hand.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I just have to say, Amazon, one of the biggest companies in the world, they know what you read last week. They know your preferences. They make recommendations, and you like them partly because they have all that history on you. Domino's knows which pizza topping you want, what time of day you want it delivered, and you hit one button and there it is. All these systems by these big companies actually make them feel friendlier because they are so intimate with you. And so the small businesses, we feel, have to kind of use that to stay in the game from a technology perspective. And then, as you said, have the smiling face, the local personality on top of that the bigger company can't do.
Which by the way, again, continues to be a competitive advantage, because yes, Amazon, you are right that those are two good examples. However, I will tell you, as somebody that recently, I'm actually still experiencing a bit of an Amazon hell black hole pit of somehow one of my assistants, one of my apprentices, used my Amazon account to buy some stuff for me, and it somehow triggered some algo which shut off my Amazon. So then I make a phone call, and I'm in this like bad place where I literally can't order from Amazon. So my point is this: yes, use these amazing systems that Thryv provides to automate this stuff, but continue to differentiate yourself from the Amazons of the world by actually being a face, a friendly face and smile and voice when your customers need you. And that's how you can, because God only knows, I mean, I'm sorry, but when I called Amazon and finally got through to someone, it was absolutely not somebody in the United States. It was not somebody who could really empathize with my situation. And frankly, it was not somebody who was able to help me. But you, as the small business owner, have an opportunity to do better than that. To beat Amazon at their own game and have all of the same great systems, including CRM in place, all the same great automation systems, but actually do better than them because you can afford to have real people providing real service in addition.
That's great. We just have a few minutes left. We're going to be back in just 1 minute, though. I want to finish off on this topic of how small businesses should think about personally becoming more likable, working better in social situations, because you have a lot to say on that. I think there's a lot to learn. We'll be back in 1 minute with more from Dave Kerpen.
This episode of Winning on Main Street is brought to you by Thryv, the end-to-end client experience platform that includes everything small business owners need to meet their customers' expectations. Thryv's award-winning and fully mobile interface delivers technology previously reserved for big business to the fingertips of small business owners nationwide. Thryv's built specifically for small business, but there's nothing small about what it can do. Thryv handles your entire customer experience, helping business owners reach more customers, stay organized, get paid faster, and generate online reviews, all from a single device or screen. To learn more about Thryv, visit winningonmainstreet.com and click on Get a Demo. When it comes to software to run your business, there's no comparison. Check out Thryv today.
So we're back with Dave Kerpen, and I wanted to just finish off on this topic of likability and how small business owners should think on a personal level of thinking about their own personality and the way they come across to their customers. You know, one of your mantras is kind of likability is important in every interaction. And it seems like a lot of small business people say, you know, my work stands for itself. I do great work. I remodel kitchens really well, or install great tiles, or what. But that's not enough, is it? They actually have to think about the customer experience.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll challenge it. I mean, I think we all like to think that we're likable. We all like to think we're good listeners. We all like to think these things, but you know, the data speaks for itself. So I'll challenge listeners and viewers to do is to do a real inventory, to do a survey, not just of your best customers, certainly not of your friends, but of a cross section of your customers. And you know, use Net Promoter Score, but also dig in. What are the best things? What are the best things about working with us? What are the biggest challenges about working with us? And do that internal audit. And get that understanding so that you can improve on your people skills. I mean, the thing is, yes, we all think that we're all pretty good at this, but I'd like to think we all could be a lot better. The number one skill that I think is the most underrated, most important, and the most often neglected skill is listening. And most people don't listen to understand. They listen to reply. Most people are not really listening. They're waiting to talk. So when we can become better listeners and really focus on the other person, it goes a very, very long way towards building those people skills and those likability skills and those relationships and yes, that business. And social media, by the way, gives us an opportunity to listen at scale, which is amazing, right? Social media is a 24/7 focus group, and so many small business owners are still stuck on like, what do I tweet and what do I post on Instagram? And again, that's important and valuable, but that's 50% of communication. The other 50% is listening and using social to understand what your customers and prospects and want, and to understand what stories your local media wants, to use social to understand what your potential employees want and your competitors' employees want and need. This is very, very valuable insight that you can gain by becoming a better listener.
Right. And networking is another topic that you tackle quite a bit in your books and writings. You know, that networking is super important, but many people fear networking. It seems fake or nerve-wracking. What if I say the wrong thing? What are your tips about networking?
Well, my first tip, and sort of my most commonly talked about tip, is to develop a personal signature style that's memorable. I happen to have now 88 pairs of orange shoes. So I wear orange shoes. You know, it doesn't really work that well for Zoom, but I wear orange shoes every day, and I encourage people to develop a personal signature style, because that's very memorable, and frankly, especially introverts. It gives people an opportunity to have something to talk about, the conversation starter, which can be super interesting. And it obviously doesn't have to be orange shoes. I've worked with folks that end up developing, one woman put a different color flower in her hair. Another wears purple ties. Another wears pearls. You know, anything that's going to be memorable. Ask better questions too, right? Use an opportunity when you connect with people to kind of lose the what's the weather like question, and focus on more important and interesting questions like, hey, what are you most excited about right now? What charity are you most passionate about and supportive? And really questions that get to the heart of people's whys. And I know that can be a little scary and intimidating for people, but in my experience and having gotten so much feedback from people that have read my books and attended my speeches over the years, I can tell you this stuff really, really works. It really helps people connect better and more authentically and more deeply to others, which again, in the long run, it might not be as transactional, but in the long run, where relationships matter, it ends up making a big difference.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we just have a minute left. I wanted to just turn to Dave Kerpen, the person, speaking of being personable, and just to ask you, I mean, you seem like one of these one-man business machines. You've written books, you speak at conferences, you've started companies. What do you do for fun, or do you have any time?
Yeah, I love, I love playing tennis. And
Nice.
I love attending baseball. I'm a huge baseball fan. In fact, I don't know when this is airing, but I am going next week to the Field of Dreams game, to my 47th stadium in Major League Baseball Stadium in Dyersville, Iowa, where the Yankees are playing the White Sox. Super excited about that. And I play poker as well. So I think in another life, I will go to the World Series of Poker and see if I can play with the big boys. But yeah, those are my hobbies. And of course, spending lots and lots of time with my family. I have 3 wonderful kids. So yeah, thanks for asking. I appreciate that. And I do a lot of mentorship. I just hooked up with the folks over at mentor.cam, which is like a Cameo, but for mentors. And it's an incredible company that allows everyone access to mentors, very successful people that can help you with your business. So there's some really amazing people on there, and also me. So it's a great way to learn from folks that have experienced success.
Well, Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Really appreciate you stopping by, and good luck with the Apprentice, or I guess I should say Apprentice, not the Apprentice.
Yeah, we don't want to
drop
that show. No, thank you. We're off to the races with Apprentice, growing very fast. It's very exciting. And if I can be helpful to anyone that's listening or watching, I also have free office hours for anyone on the planet that wants to meet with me every Thursday afternoon at scheduledave.com. No strings attached, scheduledave.com. And thanks for having me. And I love what Thryv is doing. Helping small businesses better automate their business so that they can focus on the most important stuff and really work on the business instead of being too stuck working in the business.
Right. Okay, Dave. Well, thanks for stopping by. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell a friend or colleague to subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate it. Until next time, make it a great week.